You ask most people what their number one fear is. What do you think it is? Most people's number one fear is public humiliation. Okay? I don't give a anymore. I'm not afraid of it.
Mel Gibson's newest movie, Sound of Freedom, is really shaking things up in Hollywood. You probably know him best from Mad Max and Braveheart, but this time it's not just his acting that's making waves. Gibson's caught some heat before, but now the focus is on his outspoken views against woke culture. In an interview with John Lithgow from 6 years ago, he actually predicted Hollywood's dramatic turn, and it's kind of eerie how right he was.
I've never seen Hollywood quite so shaken by anything.
It's a little late.
So we'll see how it all shakes down. Hopefully it clears the air a little bit.
Woke culture, as Gibson sees it, originally began as a push for social justice, which sounds like a good thing, right? But according to him, it turned out into something entirely different, something that actually limits creativity and shuts down voices that don't agree. He paints a picture of this beast that crushes originality and forces people into silence. Gibson's fed up and compares Hollywood to a strict religious group that pushes anyone who doesn't fall in line with their strict rules.
Utters something that resembles orthodoxy, well then they spring into action, they reprimand him, and they bully him and do their best to cancel him.
From the start, Sound of Freedom didn't exactly get a warm welcome from the big studios. It's not just that the movie doesn't tiptoe around political correctness, it actually blows right past it. The movie tackles the tough, heart-wrenching issues of child trafficking in Latin America, a subject that, according to Gibson, Hollywood usually prefers to ignore. From day one, studios tried to bury the movie, hoping it would just disappear quietly. But Gibson and his crew weren't having it. Instead of backing off, they came up with a clever plan to release the movie in stages across different countries. This kept the film buzzing in the public eye for a long time and generated non-stop attention.
The social contract. You can't get mad. You can't get mad. You can't let it get you.
Talking about reactions to negative situations, he aired a strong opinion on how one should react.
You can't build a resentment about it. You have to still try and love those people.
Yeah,
Because that's the way they're thinking.
because it ain't personal.
No, it's not personal. They don't really mean to hurt you.
The strategy wasn't just clever, it was a game changer. Sound of Freedom didn't only break box office records, it set off huge conversations about corruption in the entertainment world and Hollywood's double standards. Unlike most movies that fizzle out after a few weeks, this one kept the buzz alive, sparking ongoing debates about the dark reality of child trafficking. The movie is absolutely crushing at the box office, but it's also facing non-stop attacks from the mainstream media. Is it because of its massive success? The industry's reaction was quick and brutal. The mainstream media went all out, launching a barrage of criticism because Sound of Freedom directly challenges the woke agenda that runs deep in Hollywood. But instead of backing down, Gibson became the film's loudest defender, boldly calling out the hypocrisy of an industry that pretends to care about social issues while staying eerily quiet on the horrors of child abduction and abuse. The recruiters weren't happy to see the creepy guys you might imagine. No masks, no shady vans. It was a woman, someone who didn't seem threatening at all. This 17-year-old ended up recruiting a 10-year-old, and what happened next was horrifying. She promised the little girl candy and ice cream, but instead the child was kidnapped, drugged with fentanyl, and for the next 2 hours, this poor girl endured unbreakable trauma. Gibson had been very open in recent interviews, bluntly stating that Hollywood had lost its soul, pushing political messages over real, powerful storytelling. In a world where stepping outside the accepted norms gets you blacklisted, Gibson has become stronger than ever. To him, the real hypocrisy in Hollywood is how quickly they cancel anyone who dares to think differently, yet they stay silent on real issues when it serves their own interests.
That's how this town has been running for so long. They'll mute you. They'll try to mute you at all costs.
Sound of Freedom has pulled back the curtain on Hollywood's shiny exterior, exposing some serious cracks. While many praise its boldness, plenty of people in the industry are quick to brush off it as fear-mongering. But thanks to a global fan base and Mel Gibson's relentless drive, the film didn't just survive, it thrived. It's shaken up the film industry and taken aim at the rigid norms that Hollywood tries to keep in place.
He says, women on film, either naked or dead. Both is better. And it's like, whoa.
In today's Hollywood, it seems like the sticking to the woke agenda is more important than addressing real-world problems. That's where Mel Gibson steps in, going against the grain. Hollywood loves to portray itself as the champion of social justice, but more often than not, it's more concerned with protecting its image rather than dealing with tough, uncomfortable truths. When Hollywood tries to shut down movies that challenge their narrative, they usually end up giving those films more attention. Gibson stands out as a different kind of filmmaker, refusing to follow the politically correct path. Instead, he tells stories that go against the grain, spark discussion, and stir up controversy. Take Hacksaw Ridge, for example. It tells the gripping true story of Desmond Doss, a man who saved 75 soldiers in World War II without ever firing a weapon. The film doesn't hold back, showing the raw, brutal reality of war, which is a far cry from the polished, softened stories Hollywood usually serves up. Audiences loved it, critics applauded it, and Gibson even snagged another Oscar nomination. But more than that, the film proved that viewers are hungry for real, meaningful stories, not just ones that neatly fit into the politically correct mold. Now, with the Passion of the Christ resurrection on the horizon, Gibson is gearing up to push boundaries even further. This new film, steeped in Christian themes, is expected to be just as, if not even more, controversial than the first one. In a Hollywood that often waters down or avoids religious content, Gibson's fearless embrace of these topics really sets him apart. He's not afraid of stirring up controversy and certainly doesn't mind the backlash. What's interesting is that even some of his peers stand by him, even when it's not the popular thing to do. Robert Downey Jr., for example, has openly praised Gibson for being there during a rough patch in his life. Downey Jr. shared how Gibson encouraged him to stay hopeful and find his own sense of faith, not necessarily the same faith as Gibson's or anyone else, but one grounded in forgiveness. This glimpse into Gibson's personal support for his friends shows a side of him that often gets overlooked in the midst of all the public drama surrounding him.
He told me not to give up hope, and he urged me to find my faith. Didn't have to be his or anyone else's as long as it was rooted.
So, what does this showdown going down mean for the future of the entertainment world? Well, one thing's for sure, Mel Gibson isn't going anywhere. As Hollywood keeps pushing its woke agenda, Gibson's standing his ground, and he's definitely not doing it alone. His films are connecting with a growing audience, people who feel out of touch with where Hollywood's heading. Gibson's fearless attitude, speaking out even when it's risky or unpopular, is drawing more fans who admire his boldness.
I don't know, I think just because I've been around longer, it's different. I'm more relaxed about the whole thing, because there's no point in being anything else, right?
It's true.
But the battle is far from over. Hollywood is a tough beast, and it doesn't like being challenged. Still, Gibson shows he's not afraid to go toe-to-toe with the big shots. Whether you agree with his views or not, one thing is clear. Mel Gibson is making waves. The industry is feeling the pressure, trying to walk the fine line between artistic freedom and social responsibility. Gibson's firm opposition to the woke agenda has made him a polarizing figure. Some see him as a trailblazer who's pushing boundaries, while others think he's out of touch with today's values. But what can't be denied is that he's the one of the few willing to question Hollywood's status quo. His determination to tell raw, thought-provoking stories, even if it sparks backlash, touches on something bigger, an ongoing conversation about the value of free expression and storytelling in our culture.
I had a whole bunch of weird paranoid suspicions about what the hell was going on because there was a lot of stuff I couldn't understand.
At its heart, Mel Gibson's journey isn't just about pushing back against Hollywood values. It's about standing up for a type of storytelling that doesn't shy away from hard or unpopular truths. His work in striking a chord with a growing number of people who feel left out by the industry's increasingly narrow focus. As Hollywood wrestles with its own identity crisis, figures like Gibson are forcing the industry to rethink its priorities and confront its contradictions. In the end, whether you agree with him or not, you can't deny Gibson's impact on Hollywood. His unwavering commitment to his beliefs is a reminder that some voices will always refuse to be silenced. So what's your take? Is Mel Gibson a visionary filmmaker driving an important cultural shift, or is he out of touch with the direction Hollywood is moving in? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more updates like these.